Welcome along to Extra Time here on Fox's Hub this evening. It's a rarity, actually, coming on a Monday evening and talking about a Leicester City defeat. Only twice it's happened so far at the start of this season. I'm Dan Bates in the studio alongside me, as ever. We've got Iwan Roberts. Gerry Taggart is here as well, and joining us via Zoom, we've got Tony Cottee as well. Good evening to all three of you. As I said, a disappointing Friday evening.
It was one of those games that I've been looking forward to it for a good few days. Two top sides, two teams that are going to be there or thereabouts come the sort of mid-May when prizes are handed out. Yeah. Two teams that have had the taste of Premier League football in years gone past and want to get back there. And two teams, for me, that have got a great chance of getting back to the Premier League.
One thing with a Friday game, Jerry, it does mean a weekend off for us, didn't it? Isn't it? And you enjoyed yours?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, chaps. Yeah, it's obviously a bit of a rarity having a Friday night game. I really enjoy the Friday night games, actually.
Under the lights.
Under the lights. It was a great atmosphere at the game. And as Ewan said, two good teams going at it. And congratulations to Leeds. I thought Leicester edged it in the first half, but Leeds come out the second half, and you got to say they were the better team. Okay, say a little bit lucky with their goals, not really, but Leicester had a couple of chances, didn't quite come off them, but a really good game, and nobody can have any complaints really. It was going to happen sooner or later. We just thought it might not have been on Friday night, but unfortunately it was. There's nothing lost. And still loads to look forward to.
Last but not least, good evening to you as well. Tony, I'm sure you had a busy weekend, as you always do.
Yeah, always busy, Dad. Evening, boys. Yeah, good to speak to you all as always. And yeah, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was a real tactical battle. Leicester coming up against an improving and very good Leeds team, I might add as well. And, you've got to say these two are going to go really, really close to getting promoted back to the Premier League come the end of the season. So lots to talk about, but it was definitely a fantastic game. The result, obviously not, but the game itself, I thought was a really good game.
If you're watching us either on Facebook or on YouTube, do get your comments in to us, or your questions indeed for our guests. Jane says, evening all. Jack says, Leicester are still bossing the Championship. Ollie says, come on Leicester. And Carlos says Ipswich have drawn their game as well, which is obviously good for us. The gap still being, though, 11 points to Leeds United in third, even after that defeat, which at this stage of the season, obviously, is a very good start. And okay, Tony, as we've all referenced already, that it was disappointing losing out, of course, to Leeds. But as Gerry rightly said, the run that they were on, 9 wins in a row, was always going to end at some point. The club had never won 10 in a row before. They equalled a club record. So even that proves just how difficult it is to get that many.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on unbeaten runs, Dan, obviously it's going to come to an end at some stage. All great runs that we've seen throughout the history of football always come to an end at some stage. So you knew that was going to happen. I think sometimes, and I'm sure the boys will agree with this, I think sometimes you can learn more in defeat than you can when you win a game of football. Winning football's great. We all love to be in a winning team. You're playing, as we've spoke about, for so many Mondays already this season. It's great as an individual, as a team. You're buzzing, you're winning the games, etc. And you're not always learning so much because you're winning the games. There's not that much to learn because you haven't lost. I think when you lose a game, that's when you can take lessons. And I think from Leicester's point of view, in terms of what I'm talking about, I think they can perhaps learn to mix things up a little bit at times. When certainly from I think the first 10 minutes was crucial, wasn't it? Leeds really put Leicester under pressure. And sometimes I think, if a team is doing a high press, they're pushing and putting you under pressure, you can bypass that, and I'm not talking about launching the ball down the pitch. I'm talking about a controlled ball, or maybe not take a short goal kick. There are things and ways that you can, sort of get around what the opposition are doing. There's fair play to Leeds. They've done their homework. They've done a real job on Leicester. It was a very professional performance by them. But as I say, I don't know if the boys, agree with me, but I think sometimes you can learn a lot more in defeat than the winning games.
Yeah, I think I said that in the studio on Friday night, actually, Tony, that I think, Enzo Maresca will learn so much from this game. They had a tough game a couple of weeks ago against Sunderland, got themselves over the line with a tight 1-0 win. And then it was the same on Friday night against a really good Leeds team who in my eyes and in my opinion were a more rounded team than Sunderland. Sunderland full of youth, but lacked that little bit of experience. Leeds had that bit of extra experience, game management, call it what you will. And that sort of seen them over the line. And in tight games, when you know the game's going to be won or lost by the odd goal, and that was the case on Friday night. And that's got nothing to do with Leicester being inexperienced or, whatever else. It was just two good teams going at it, and Leeds, fortunately for them, got themselves over the line. But I think Enzo will learn so much from that game, losing that game, losing a really tight game. And, again, I think I mentioned on Friday night the tactics, and the ways round it. Leicester did get themselves going in that first half after about 10 minutes, but there was a few little areas of the pitch where I think they could have exploited better against Leeds, and they didn't.
On another night, they could have got a point.
Yeah.
I don't think Leicester deserved to lose the game. I thought they probably deserved. I thought a draw would have been a fair result. I think what it probably does, Dan, including to ourselves, is it gets people's feet back down to earth, if that sort of makes sense. Not that the lads have got carried away, but if you think at the start that Leicester have made people, after 15 games they've won it already, people are playing for second place, the lads won't be thinking like that, but it just gives everybody a time to reassess, focus. Another big game coming up on Saturday away at Middlesbrough. But then if you look at the next 6 games, Watford was in 16th, Sheffield Wednesday in 24th, West Brom, who are flying, Plymouth in 19th, Millwall 18th, and Rotherham 22nd. So some really winnable games in these next 6.
And that's when it's pretty much a game in the week, and then a game on Saturday, a game in the week, game on Saturday. So you can really pick up points. Philip says exactly what Ewan's just said. Middlesbrough will be another tough game at the weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We've also got our Lurdles to do, so listen out for those throughout the show. That's how you guys can get involved with it. We'll do football Jenga at the very end, as well as Globe-trotting with Iwan Roberts as well. Glenn on Facebook, Jerry says that the passing out from the back in the first couple of minutes was a little bit sloppy due to Leeds' press. Do you agree with that? Leeds did start the game very well.
Yeah, I think, I'm not saying that Leeds hit Leicester by surprise, but they just didn't get up to the pace of the game as quick as Leeds did. It was an obvious tactic by Leeds to hit them hard early on and see how it went. I said, Tony's already mentioned that it took about 10 minutes, and then Harry Winks just bossed the midfield for me after that with a passing out from the back. So sometimes, it's one of the oldest cliches in football before you walk out on the pitch. Start the game well.
Yeah.
First 20 minutes, start the game well. Make sure you win your challenges. Make sure you're passing the ball to a blue shirt, whatever the shout is in the dressing room. But again, you've got to congratulate Leeds in the way they set their stall out. But Leicester got into their stride. Harry Winks started getting on the ball, and Leicester started getting a bit of joy. I just think decision making at times was just slightly off for Leicester in that first half. But they still created chances. The Fatu one that hits the bar, they still had a couple of other opportunities. It didn't quite come off. The one that dropped the Cassidy in the box, and he just couldn't quite get the touch right, whatever, or flick a toe at it, a big toe at it, and bobble it towards a goal. So there's slight little bits of things that just didn't quite go for Leicester in the right. But in a tight game, which it was always going to be, then that those little things make the big difference.
You could even argue, I guess, with the goal itself, Tony, that there was an element of bad fortune in that. It was a good save from Mads Hermansen. He couldn't really have done much more than he did, and it just happened to fall to the Leeds player that was there ready to pounce, Rutter, in fact, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just unfortunate they conceded from a corner. It appeared Leicester were a little bit static with the corner, and Sam Burren was certainly on the move and on the run, and obviously someone on the run is always going to be able to sort of anticipate, jump higher than someone who's standing still. So perhaps that's something to look at from corners. But having said all that, in general, I think Leicester have been much better organised this season than what they have in previous seasons. So, but still disappointing to concede from a set piece. It's a good save from the keeper, and of course once he sort of palms it out or kicks it out, it could fall anywhere. It's fell to the Leeds player, and it's just one of those things. But I think the manager will be disappointed that Leicester have conceded from a corner.
Well, that's a good point Tony makes. No one's marking Barron as he makes that run, and that'll be the most disappointing thing for the players and the staff, that someone's got a free run to that near post. It's a great ball from Dan James. He's put it right in that little pocket between just over Jamie Vardy's head. They're so difficult, those balls, to try and play. You've got to get it right, and unfortunately, he's got it absolutely bang on that ball. And so the only way you can detract from it or take away from Leeds is you need to stick with your runner, and you need to track him and put him under pressure. And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
I think that's the point. I mean, so many head coaches do this zonal marking now. Me personally, I hated it. I'd rather be allocated a man. It was normally a centre half. He's your man. He's your responsibility. You take care of him. You can't affect anything else. If everybody else is doing their jobs, we won't concede from a set piece. As Tag said, it's a great ball in. I mean, because it just goes over Jamie's head, doesn't it? And to be fair, he can't. I don't think he can start any further back, if that makes sense. Otherwise, he's on top of people on that near post.
He's done it so many times, clearing that near post space. So you can't. It's got absolutely nothing to do with Jamie Vardy, because he's been there for so long and he's cleared balls for fun.
I just think for the opposition's big headers of a ball from set pieces, I would just like to see someone pick them up. I mean, the goalkeeper's unlucky. Hermanson is really unlucky, to be fair. It's a really good instinctive save. He can't really sort of react to push the ball away from the bodies that were in the 6-yard box. It's just unlucky that it's landed to Jorginho.
Yeah, you've probably scored a number of those, but both Iwan Roberts and Tony Cottee in their careers. Similar type of goals where the goalie makes a save, it falls right to you. You don't class that as lucky. You'd say that was skill, being in the right place at the right time, Tony.
Yeah, you can argue it's anticipation. I think from corners, Dan, I mean, I've done it in my 3 years at Leicester. I just used to stand on the goalkeeper, because you'd be surprised how many times the ball can just drop in that 6-yard box. And, it's a case of just playing the percentage game a little bit, but you've got to be ready for it and anticipate. And it works both ways as well, because defensively you've got to be switched on as well. That's when forwards get their goals, because they're on the move, they're anticipating. If you're a defender and you're static and you're not expecting it to come back out, or you're expecting the keeper to keep hold of the ball, which obviously he couldn't because it was down low the first header anyway. But it all happened so quickly. It's good anticipation from Rutter to put it in the back of the net. But as I say, I just felt it was just a disappointing way to concede for Leicester.
I mean, it's only the fourth goal that Leicester conceded at home. Defensively they've been solid at home. Kept 4 consecutive clean sheets before the Leeds goal. Had plenty of possession. We've not even spoken about the Dewsbury Hall header right at the end. And a fantastic Mesler save. How he's sort of got that big strong hand to keep it out of the net. And he's, Dewsbury Hall's done really well. He's beaten Luke Ayling, who's a tall boy. He's jumped nice and early, got enough power into the header. It's just a fantastic save to win all 3 points for Leeds on the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that shows, we've seen it before with Leicester, where they go all the way till the end, and that proved that Dewsbury Hall does unbelievably well. Unbelievably well to win that header. Not just to win it, but they actually get the placement, to get it on target, and call the keeper in the action and make that kind of save. That's a 1 in 1,000. Probably more than that from Mesler. That's
it's an unbelievable save.
99 times out of 100, or 999 times out of 1,000, it's in the back of the net. And just on this night, but he does unbelievably well, Dewsbury Hall, to even get it on target. It's a fantastic attempt.
Yeah, there's a still picture of Meslier. He's behind. The ball's half in the goal, and he's literally had to claw it from behind him. Yeah,
I mean, it's got a great header against Coventry on the opening day, and then he was really unlucky. And I was at the game. I can't remember who it was. It was identical header at that end only a few weeks ago, and the keeper made a fantastic save. You know, I think it's a great sign that he's getting in those positions, you know, on the back post, because normally that'd be your centre forward. You know, it'd be a big man up front on that back post in that position. It's just great seeing Dewsbury Hall getting into those areas and getting chances.
I think as well, Dan. I think just another thing, and I'm really, please don't think I'm being negative about this. I'm trying to help and pick up on little things because, as I say, about trying to learn from things. I think at times I just think Leicester could get the ball in the box a little bit earlier. You know, I think they've got wonderful wide players and they really make things happen. I just think sometimes, you don't need to always go past you, man. You don't need to lay the ball back to someone and then get it back and then try and cross it. I mean, with the incident that the boys are talking about, it's a ball in for Flattery, I think it was, who put the cross in. Dewsbury Hall gets on the end of it. But sometimes, I think with modern football, I just think sometimes it's just a little bit over elaborate sometimes. And even Man City, and of course Maresca was at Man City, even at Man City, you pass and pass and pass, but eventually Carl Walker or someone's got to whip the ball in, which they do. And then you get the forwards getting on the end of it, or you get midfield runners getting into the box. Or they might not even get on it. You might just get a lucky deflection. The ball bounces to someone, it's in the net, you've got your goal back. And I just think sometimes I felt just a little bit overpassing at times sometimes. And that's why I'm saying I think there's things you can take from the game. When you get a game where it's tight, when you've got men behind the ball, but they're dangerous on the counter-attack, you've got to be clever and you've got to find ways of getting back into the game.
Mm-hmm. Liam Morrison on Facebook says he's still so happy with the way that we're looking at the start of this season and still improving every single game. Ray Simpson says Tags is a legend, always talks sense. I'm not sure I agree with that one from Ray. And Kieran Sant says, Stoke fan here, and nice to have you along, Kieran. I'm surprised Leicester have started the league the way that they have. Many teams have come down from the Premier League and not looked the same since, but the signings have been class and shown top class. So I think that's a good point, Tony, that Kieran makes and Liam makes as well, that, OK, we lost on Friday, but the start that they've made is still unbelievable. 13 wins out of 15, and no one would have expected that.
It's sensational, Dan. It is, and like I said, please don't think I'm picking on stuff. No, I just think where they made such a great start and that, and then when you lose a game and that, you just got to reflect on it. You've got to learn, and the most important thing in the Championship is you don't have time to worry about what's gone on. You don't in football in general. They always say about the last game and that, but you don't have time to reflect on the last game. Whether you've won it and played well or you've lost, against a good Leeds team, you've just got to look forward. That game's behind us now, and the games are this relentless in the Championship. I know there's an international break coming up soon, but it's Saturday games, it's midweek games, and Leicester have been absolutely sensational this season. They really have. We can't praise them, all us boys. We can't praise them enough. It's been absolutely fantastic, what they've done. But every now and again, you get a blip, and it's how you react from the blip, how you react from the setback, and then you just go again. And that's what football's all about.
Had you offered, or had you said to any Leicester fan before the Coventry game, after 15 games, you'll have won 13, they'd have absolutely snapped your hand off after what happened last year.
Absolutely
would snap your hand off.
Well,
what happened after the last defeat against Hull? They won their next nine. Yeah. So another reaction like that, please.
Yeah, that's exactly what Lisa says actually on Facebook as well. Considering where we were last season, we've made a great start. There'll always be room for improvement, and that's what we need to focus on. Learn from those mistakes, keep focused, and move on. But really, I think there's some negativity that are coming through from Friday, and I understand that. It's a defeat. It's disappointing. Could easily have nicked the equaliser at the end, but 13 out of 15, they haven't conceded more than one goal in any of the games they've played yet. Obviously, both defeats were just by the goal to nil here. So it's as we're all saying.
I think
again, for me, if you're going to try and be negative, which is the shots on target count.
Yeah, one shot on target. That's the disappointing aspect for me.
And I think we're all talking about, TC's mentioned about getting the ball in the box or getting the forward a bit early or exploiting a bit of space in a different area of the pitch than what Enzo's used to, doing with the way he plays. Then these are all the things that'll be analysed. I'm not saying he's going to change anything. Why would he? But, you know, when you're actually watching and trying to talk about a one-off game, and there'll be things in there that he'll learn from, because obviously he'll look at those stats and go, we've had one shot on target all night, even though Fatawu's hit the bar.
They don't count it for some reason, do they?
They don't count, but, you know, but obviously the two chances were Fatawu's and Dewsbury Hall's.
Yeah. And what a goal, by the way, it would have been from Abdul Fatawu if that goes in. That goal of the season wrapped up easily.
The bit of skill to beat Sam Byram. Was it Sam Byram? Yeah, it was, the left back. Magnificent. And we know he's capable of doing that. He's done it more than once in his short time at the football club. He wants to bring it in on that left foot, just a couple of inches lower. And I mean, the keeper, and he's a good keeper, by the way, Mesley. He's a very good keeper. He's a big boy. He doesn't even move. He's beaten. He's beaten hands down. He's not getting anywhere near it. It's just so unlucky that it's come off the bar.
Yeah, how good would that have been, Tony? With everything that Ewan's just said, the flick over, the run inside, the effort from there, the whole stadium would have just, I think, erupted had that gone in.
Wasn't it, with the camera angle as well? You're behind it and you think, you know, it's going into the top corner and it's obviously hit the bar and come back out. But it's sensational skill, and you know, I've just been praising the Leicester team, and you know, there's a lot of players that deserve credit, you know, with the start they've made to the season. But the two wide boys have been fantastic. You know, Mavadidi and Fatawu as well. Both players been in sensational form at times in games. You know. And it was great skill from Fatawu to come in. He's got a lovely left foot, and you know, that's what I like about him. He can go both ways. I've said it before. Both of them, they can go down the outside and they can come inside. And if you show him inside on that left foot, it was a wonderful effort. And you know, it certainly would have been a contender for goal of the season if it had gone in.
What time was that? Was it close?
First half.
First half.
Yeah.
About
35.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game changer, really. If that goes in, you go in at 1-0. It's a completely different second half, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah, and of course they went straight out the other end, didn't they? And then they had the penalty appeal, so it could so easily have changed.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Actually, I forgot about that. You know, they did. They went straight up, didn't they? And
some of it, wasn't it?
Some of it.
Yeah. But it wasn't a penalty.
It wasn't a pen. No,
nowhere near a penalty. He sort of lost control of the ball. And he was. It was his last gasp effort. Can I get a penalty out of this? Because I've pushed it too far.
I don't even think he appealed, did he?
No. I think also, you know, credit the Leeds. You know, we're talking about Fatawu and Mavadidi in the first half, who were sensational for me. And then in the second half, Sam Barron was obviously on a yellow card, and he just dropped off 10 yards and let Fatawu have the ball. Whereas in the first half, he was
tight.
Both full-backs were probably
him.
getting too tight. And then in the second half, they both dropped off and said, right, you can have the ball. What are you going to do? And it sort of bamboozled the Pearl, but mainly Fatawu until he actually went down the line and crossed the ball for Dewsbury Hall. So tactically, again, Leeds got it absolutely spot on in that second half.
Yeah, he's 19 years old, Abdul Fatawu.
Exactly. Kid.
Yeah. So do you think that will have maybe really helped him, actually, that game on Friday, that he can learn from that, okay, not every defender's going to do the exact same thing to you for a whole 90 minutes?
Every defender's different. Every defender's got his strength and weaknesses. The work that they do, analysing the opposition through the week, now he'll have all the information that he needs about the player he's up against. You know, he's obviously a talent. There's a reason why he's at the football club. He's had a great start. I think there's a lot more to come from him. I think there's a lot more to come from him. You know, he's an absolute terrific prospect, and he's shown that at times in the Leicester shirt. He's only going to get better. He's only going to get improved. He's playing with good players. He's brimming with confidence. I mean, if that goal would have gone in, I mean, one of the goals of the season, to be fair, in the Championship, with a bit of skill and the pace and cutting in. And
how many wide players have Leicester had in recent times that just haven't happened?
Yeah.
And now you've got a young lad, who's come on loan, and he's absolutely hit the ground running. He's got people off their seats. He's got what's the word I'm looking for? He's got people, you know, as I say, every time he gets the ball, people are expecting to do something.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in a long time, I think, that we've had a player like that. And yet
he excites people.
That's it. That's the word I was looking for.
He excites
people. and he's only 19. So this is a great experience and a great learning curve for him as well.
Yeah, and you think about how unlucky he's been as well. That effort where he cut inside and hit the bar obviously would have been probably up there for goal of the season. I remember against Hull in the other only defeat that Leicester have had this season, within 30 seconds of coming off the bench, he did exactly the same. He cut inside, curled one, it hit the post that day.
Yes.
On both of those occasions, Leicester, if they go in, probably win the game and could be 15 from 15 at the start of the season. But they're not. It's 13 out of 15, which is still pretty good. You had a go at me there the other night, Gerry, didn't you? And I said, oh, if that goes in, it's a different game. And you said, if buts and maybes.
But it's like Ian saying Leicester didn't deserve to lose the game. But, you know, these games are going to be tight. They're going to be on a knife edge all the way through the game. And it's all about maximising any opportunity that comes your way. And so if buts and maybes, chuck them out the window. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net or not.
There's going to be bumps in the road, boys. We knew that. We knew that.
Absolutely. But these games, I tell you, potentially looking... Friday night was... I loved it. It was a proper game of football. Two teams trying to win it. Leeds came, tried to win it. They didn't set back. Proper game of football. Proper.
Yeah.
Right, let's get the first of our ladles then this evening. If you are new to us here on Extra Time on Fox, so basically we'll play you a snippet of commentary of a Leicester City goal. It could be from 20 years ago, it could be from last year. All we need you to tell us is who scored it and who was the opposition. The clues obviously get easier and easier as the commentary goes on, but here is clue number 1.
Because indeed, Perez was definitely offside for the Leicester goal, which is disallowed. But anyway.
It's a tough first clue. We'll play it for you one more time. We'll repeat it again.
Yeah, play it one more time.
Because indeed, Perez was definitely offside for the Leicester goal, which is disallowed. But anyway.
There we go. That's clue number 1. So we need the goal scorer and the team that it was scored against for our ladles. Get your answers in either on YouTube or on Facebook. If you've got it after one clue, then I'll be very, very impressed this evening, as we always are, if ever people get it on the first clues, which they do. Let's look ahead, Tony, to that game then with Middlesbrough, obviously, next weekend. Bob from Pennsylvania says, we all agree Saturday at the Riverside won't be an easy game, but our attack will perk up. Hopefully, he's got total confidence in that attacking force, that particularly away from home. They've won every game on the road so far this season.
Leicester have got absolutely nothing to fear from anyone in the Championship. You know, with the start they've made, as I've said many times before, you know, it's the other team that are worried about Leicester, not Leicester worrying about the opposition. Having said all that, you know, this is a Middlesbrough side. What do I make of Middlesbrough this year? I don't know whether we've got enough time on the show to dissect how they've been performing. They've been all over the place at times. A really, really slow start to the season. They picked up. I've got to say, I'm pleased for Michael Carrick, because he's a young manager, sort of, you know, learning his trade as Middlesbrough manager. We know they was really unlucky, you know, got beaten in the playoffs last year, and I think sometimes it's easy for clubs to hit the panic button, and you know they was right down at the bottom, wasn't they? This first 6 or 7 games, it was a really poor start, and you know sometimes clubs panic and get rid of managers, and that, which I don't agree with. And you know, credit to Middlesbrough, they've stuck with Michael Carrick and they've been getting the results. They're slowly but surely coming back into a little bit of form. They're still in mid-table at the moment. Drew 3-0 at the weekend, didn't they? But you know, sums it up: 1-6, lost 6, drawn 3. So it's been a very indifferent start, but it's a tough place to go. You know, Middlesbrough has always been a hard place to go to. You know, when we went there as Leicester players, I remember having a few tough games there. So it will not be any different at the weekend than that. But it is a game that Leicester can go there, play their football, and look forward to it.
I mean, they were a lot of people's dark horses to finish in the top 2 after how they performed last season. They lost the Championship's top scorer in Akpom. He went to Ajax. They had the young lad from Villa who signed for Sheffield on loan, who I think he's got 10 in his 18 games at there.
Archer.
No, the other one.
Oh.
Scored at the weekend for Sheffield.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cameron Archer.
Cameron Archer. Sorry, Dan. But they only won 2 points in their opening 7 games, and he was under pressure. I mean, there was talks that he could be the first casualty of the Championship, but then they've won their next 6. Whistling. They won 6 on the spin. They lost to Stoke a couple of weeks ago,
yeah.
and
drew
3-3 with. So they were league goals. I think Leicester can definitely, and we've seen what Leicester are capable of doing away from home when teams have to be a bit more attacking, have to get people a bit further forward because they're the home side. It's a big pitch, it's a great stadium. I think it's probably the ideal game for Leicester to come back after that defeat.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was just going to pick up on that point where Middlesbrough will probably try and play the same way as Leeds did on Friday night, as Sunderland did a couple of weeks. They're at home. They're in decent form. I say Stoke beat them at home, didn't they? A couple of weeks ago.
Stoke beat Leeds.
Yeah.
And they had another great result as well. And I beat Sunderland. Beat
Sunderland.
Stoke have really picked up of late. So sorry, Middlesbrough will more than likely come out and play a similar style of football to Sunderland and Leeds, as you would expect from a Michael Carrick team at home, and that will hopefully suit Leicester down on the ground.
Yeah, and as we've already referenced, Tony, the last time Leicester lost a game in the Championship against Hull, they won their next 9 in a row. So hopefully we'll see a similar reaction, of course.
Yeah, and I'm sure the manager will be saying that to the players, and that's what you have to do. As we've already said, it's a tough league. You will lose games. It's impossible to go through the season and only lose 1 or 2 games in the Championship. I think a lot of clubs get promoted. They've lost 9 or 10 games in the Championship. There's 46 games. You can afford to lose 9 or 10 games. So it's how you bounce back. But, you just got to say to the boys, look, we lost against Hull and then we've gone on this great run of form. Let's just do it again. Let's get back to where we were and everything. And it just go back to the basics that Leicester have been doing so well. There's nothing wrong. You're going to lose games of football in the Championship. It's just the fact it is a tough league. You've got to respond in the right way.
Right, let's do clue number 2 then for our Lardle. Bubba has got involved. Gerry's wingman. He said Vardy against Spurs. That is incorrect. Jane, he always does, Tony. Jane says she thinks it's against Liverpool, but she can't remember the scorer. Let's get clue number 2. Let's see if that jogs anybody's memories.
Because indeed, Perez was definitely offside for the Leicester goal, which is disallowed. But anyway, Leicester come away with the ball, but then they lose it. Madison fires it into the feet of Barnes. Barnes to the left-hand side, and Vardy, who tries to pick out Rick.
Right, we'll play it one more time. So we need the goal scorer and the team that it was scored against, please.
Because indeed, Perez was definitely offside for the Leicester goal, which is disallowed. But anyway, Leicester come away with the ball, but then they lose it. Madison fires it into the feet of Barnes. Barnes to the left-hand side, and Vardy, who tries to pick out Rick.
I've got that.
Rick got the goal scorer.
Rick. He says something at the beginning as well that doesn't make any sense. He says a word that is it a player's name from the opposition? So now you're thinking, is it?
Anyway, that's clue number 2. So we need the goal scorer and the team that it was scored against. Final point, really, I guess, on Leicester in that game on Saturday. Bubba says it says a lot about a side that runs off 9 in a row after a defeat, and it is a big game then on Saturday to try and do the same thing again. But it shows that a team has that confidence and that belief in themselves.
It just refocuses everybody, Dan. We've got It's the last game before the last international break of the season. But there might be one in March for some teams in the playoffs. So go out on a winning note. And you can have a couple of weeks then if the lads want to go away for a bit of a break with their families. I'm sure they'll be allowed to. But recharge those batteries because, as I said, the next few games coming up before that massive game on Boxing Day down at Portman Road, they're really winnable. I think in the next 5-6 games, Leicester can pick some really valuable points. I'm whistling again.
Keep going, I love it. Yeah.
It's been a long weekend, hasn't it, you? Let's see how the Leicester City players then have reacted on social media to that defeat on Friday night. We've been used to looking at their winning posts. Not quite the same. Not the result we wanted last night, but we will learn from our mistakes and come back stronger. Amazing support from the fans once again. That's from Abdul Fatawu. And of course, a picture there in reference to the fantastic poppy display that we always see at King Power Stadium during the Remembrance fixture. I'm believing that must be Harry Winks. Frustrating result to take, but lots of positives. We go again. And that'll be Ricardo, of course. Keep working, keep fighting to bounce back. We always end with Ricardo in our social clips because they're always good. From the man who, of course, had the captain's armband again on Friday evening when Vardy went off. That's right, isn't it? Ricardo picks up the captain's armband, doesn't he? We've had some guesses in for our Lurdles. I'll read those out a little bit later before we go to it. Bubba has said Ricky P against Arsenal. I think we all know that one of those is correct, judging from the clue that we heard at the end of number 2. Gerry, that is incorrect, what you are showing me. Gerry has guessed Everton. It isn't Everton. Right, let's move on and let's do our Globe-trotting because we've already had requests for it. Again, Bob over in the US says it's Lily's favourite part of the show, and we missed it a few weeks ago because it was so condensed, the show. We were talking about a win. I can't remember what it was. And Lily wasn't happy at home there in Pennsylvania, so we'll make sure we never miss it again.
And this incident didn't happen too far from where Bob lives in Pennsylvania. This happened in Rio de Janeiro, in the Maracanã, just over the weekend. It was the, I've got to be careful here, Copa Libertadores, is it, Dan?
Yeah.
It's the equivalent to the Champions League in South America. Boca Juniors, obviously an Argentinian side playing Fluminense, who are a Brazilian side. So you've got a rivalry straight away. It goes to 1-1 at full time, goes into extra time, and Fluminense bring a young 21-year-old Brazilian called John Kennedy. He comes on in the 80th minute. He gets a yellow card in the 89th minute. He only goes and scores the winner on 99. Wow. And his celebration, he goes absolutely. He doesn't have when he scored against Spurs at Man City at the Etihad. He ran to celebrate. He's gone completely to the side of the stadium. I mean, it's bedlam. It's chaotic. Gets a second yellow card, gets sent off. So he's the hero one minute, he's the villain, but he's not, because they go on to win the game. He scores the winning goal. It's the first time in their history that they've won the Champions League in South America. I mean, it was a fantastic scene. Marcelo, Marcelo, the left back. I mean, he's won everything it is to be won. He said that's the most important trophy that he's ever won because he started his career with the club. But I mean, the Maracanã, there was a few empty seats, but that was to sort of separate the crowd because it was proper rivalry. Just thinking celebrations, what springs to mind?
Immediately for me, it's got to be Jamie Vardy.
The king of celebrations.
Yeah, every single time.
The eagle.
Yeah, the eagle at Crystal Palace.
He's got one for every club, hasn't he?
Tony, we were at Selhurst Park that day. I don't know if you remember when Jamie Vardy pulled out the eagle celebration and down there against Crystal Palace. That was very memorable. Every time he scores pretty much now at home at King Power Stadium, he'll run to the away end and have a bit of a celebration, won't he? So, yeah, Jamie Vardy, I think, for celebrations particularly, always springs to mind.
Tags, you came out with some good ones in there.
Yeah, just, you're racking your brain. Tim Cahill used to go and punch the flag. Wayne Rooney used to throw a few punches and then fall backwards as if he'd been hit.
Yeah.
Peter Crouch, with the old robot.
Have you got it?
Yeah, no. But then I suppose growing up watching football, the most iconic moment for me was Mick Shannon, who...
Tagged, you beat me to it.
Oh, sorry, pal. Was that what you were going to pull out, Mick Shannon? He was the one that I remember the most. The windmill with his arm. And on the odd occasion that I scored a goal, I think I've even pinched it off Mr. Mick Shannon, that one, the old windmill. And I know I definitely did that against Red Star Belgrade when I scored. So yeah, there's mine.
TC?
I used to do it in training. Do you remember when we used to do our little circle? You had to do something different. And I'd done the Mick Shannon one day. Where I'm doing my arm round like that, and I said, well, if I scored, we was playing the semi-final, the second leg at Filbert Street against Sunderland.
Yeah.
And I scored the goal. And if you watch the celebration I'm doing the Mick Shannon, everyone, any youngsters, I think you're thinking, what's he doing? But that was the original one. I agree, it's a great celebration from the 70s. And one other that springs to mind, and you'll agree with this one, when the Premier League started and Jurgen Klinsmann done his flying on one. Remember, he done the dive because everyone accused him of diving here, there, and everywhere. And he scored a goal at Sheffield Wednesday, and then he done the dive and that. And I thought that was really, really good. That one, the Klinsmann one.
Yeah.
It's still got to be Jamie Vardy for me. And I think as someone who follows Leicester,
he's got something
week
different
in, week out.
up his sleeve every time he goes out there.
Yeah.
And now he's just pointing at his name now, and he'll drawing the line underneath it.
Yeah. Oh, he'll bow to the crowd as well.
The Wolf against
Wolves. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think you came out with some good ones there. Crouch was
correct,
a famous one in the mid-2000s.
I mentioned
Shearer was just a typical one-arm, wasn't he?
Balotelli, the old one, why always me, when he scored.
Couldn't get his shirt on his head, though. Robbie Fowler, we won't go into it in detail. We won't go into it in detail, but
yeah, it's a PG show.
He was a bit of a controversial.
Thomas Brolin, remember his? He used to do a little pirouette, didn't he? Thomas Brolin,
because he scored against England, didn't he?
Yeah, and he used to do that little pirouette in the air. He'd do a little single salco,
right?
Basically.
Robbie Keane used to do a little somersault. Get the old
machine gun Kelly.
I haven't got a clue who's shooting.
Yeah. Did you not have one then, Tony? Like a particular one that you always went to celebration-wise? Was it just a spur of the moment thing?
It was just a natural reaction, really, Dan. And I think with goal scoring, it's a personal thing. Some people want to rehearse it nowadays and do what they do. All my goal celebrations were natural. Sometimes the celebration was with the fans. Sometimes it was with your teammates. Sometimes it was with both. And as I said, with the Mick Shannon, you do something silly every now and again. But it was always, I never premeditated a goal scoring celebration. It was just whatever happened on the day.
Not me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have scored. If I planned something, guarantee I wouldn't have scored.
Yeah, wasn't there a star? I can't remember who it was that had something written on their shirt or something and didn't score for like 10 games or something like that. Right, let's do clue number 3 for our Lurdle this evening. Joseph has guessed Ricardo against West Ham. That is incorrect. Vlamas and Machiavelli have both guessed Jamie Vardy. We know that one isn't right, or they might have been saying Vardy in terms of the celebration, so we'll give them that. Bubba's guessed Ricky P in the Europa League against PSV. Nope, it isn't that. Let's hear clue number 3.
Because Ndidi or Perez was definitely offside.
Oh, we appear to have just lost that. We'll see if we can get it back anyway in a minute. Should we try again? Clue number 3.
Because Ndidi, Perez was definitely offside for the Leicester goal, which is disallowed. But anyway, Leicester come away with the ball, but then they lose it. Maddison fires it into the feet of Barnes. Barnes to the left-hand side, and Vardy, who tries to pick out Ricardo, who scores! Surely that one won't be disallowed!
Well, it's at Leicester.
Yeah.
Because of the crowd's reaction.
So that word that we don't quite get, is it Conser? Is it Conser?
No.
No, not Villa.
No.
No,
we'll give people a little bit more time. Michael Julian, though, has already got it right, so well done to him.
Right.
Luke Richardson, after one guess, got the team right. Didn't get the player right, but got the team right. Because
Perez is disallowed goal.
Perez indeed he has a goal disallowed where Perez had been offside. Then in this particular game, about a minute before that Ricardo equaliser, the opposition had scored to make it 2-0. And it was disallowed through VAR. Leicester went up the other end, made it 1-1. Final score was 2-1 to Leicester. So a few more clues. I'm trying to give everyone as many goes at guessing it as they can do. They might remember it a little bit more now. Just some news, obviously, at the weekend, LCFC women were back in action. They played away at Liverpool in the WSL. They've had a fantastic start to the season, but unfortunately, it was a double defeat for our Leicester City sides at the weekend. They lost 2-1 against Liverpool. Well worth watching, though. The Missy Goodwin goal, the equaliser, was absolutely fantastic. Right, let's do clue number 4, rather, for our Ladle. We'll rattle straight through into it. Michael Julian, you've got it right. Let's hear the 4th and final clue. Let's see if anyone else can get it. Come on, Gerry, you were on co-commentary.
Leicester come away with the ball, but then they lose it. Madison fires it into the feet of Barnes. Barnes to the left-hand side, and Vardy, who tries to pick out Ricardo, who scores! Surely that one won't be disallowed. And Leicester City are back level just minutes after they thought they were 2-0 down. Ricardo gets the goal, 1-1.
Still nothing for you?
Nope.
Have a look there. Your wingman Bubba has got it. I'll read it out now.
I can't remember that goal. I can't remember it.
Ricardo Pereira against Spurs. Against Spurs it was. I think it was their fullback that scored. Serge Aurier, I think, made it 2-0. VAR looked at it. It was really, really close. Marginal call on VAR was disallowed. A minute later, Leicester got the other end. Ricardo scores. And then James Maddison gets the winner. It was the early kickoff on a Saturday, 2019 to 20 season. James Maddison with the win. Is that absolutely nothing? Nothing ringing any bells?
We're getting old, Dan. We're getting old.
Can't remember.
Well, the reason I've picked that one, and it's a tenuous link, no one was guessing this one. Harry Winks was in the starting lineup for Spurs that day. Obviously, he's got that fantastic goal against QPR last week, and he's been the subject of your latest podcast as well, Gerry, hasn't he?
Oh, yes.
Harry Winks, Leicester's The Place, a podcast for you. You can listen to that wherever you get your podcasts. Also, watch the full. It's about an hour, isn't it, with Harry Winks on YouTube or on Fox's Hub. But a really good watch, a really good listen, however people decide to do that with Harry Winks.
Absolutely. Really informative. He's had an unbelievable career when you think about playing the Champions League final against Liverpool, started the game. He's played under some top managers, and he said that he's never learned so much under Enzo.
I remember when he burst on the scene at Spurs, and I went, he should have had 40 on his back, shouldn't he, really?
Who's that?
Isn't number 40 on his back, shouldn't he, really?
40 wins.
Oh, he should have had 40.
Right, on that note, I want to move straight on there, Ian.
That is horrible. That is terrible, Ian.
You've been waiting how long? When did we sign Harry Winks? Back in July, was it? You've been waiting all that time.
I should have said it last week when he scored that cracker.
Yeah, you finally got to be. But we actually spoke about him last week, didn't we, Tony, at length? But he's been vital in that Leicester midfield this season. And he was good again on Friday evening, just came out on the wrong side.
Yeah, he's an excellent player, Dan. You know I'm a big fan, and I've always been a fan of Harry's and throughout his Tottenham times and that. And I think sometimes he was unfairly picked on, if he wasn't quite going right for Spurs, and, eventually you sort of get left out of the team and that. But I think Tottenham's lost his Leicester's gain. I think he's been fantastic this season. He's pivotal, he's instrumental in everything that goes on. He links the defence and the midfield and the attack. And, I've got nothing but praise for him at the moment. He's been really, really top class. And, it was a privilege to be at QPR at Loftus Road, wasn't it, last weekend, to see that goal live, because it was a fantastic a goal. I said at the time, a goal worthy of winning any game of football. It was a wonderful goal. And I want him to shoot more. I'll keep saying that. I want him to shoot more. But just keep doing what you're doing, Harry. He's been a fantastic signing for the club.
Right, we are coming towards the end. There's about 10 minutes of extra time left this Monday evening. That means we do our football Jenga immediately. Both Ewan and Gerry reach for their notepads. They're ready to do an answer. And I've just got the question through now. So the question is, ahead of Leicester's visit to Middlesbrough on Saturday, name anyone to have appeared in the matchday squads for Leicester's League Cup final victory over the Teessiders in 1997. This includes both teams and can be from either game, as it ended in a replay. So, ahead of Leicester's visit to Middlesbrough on Saturday, name any player that was in either of the matchday squads, so Leicester or Middlesbrough, in the League Cup victory in 1997. There were two games because it went to a replay. Yes, so the four of us will go head-to-head in just a moment. While these guys can write down some of their early answers, I'll rattle through the predictions that we've done ahead of each weekend. All of us take a look at some games and we predict the scores in those. I'm already dreading this Lardle because I don't think I'll last very long. Birmingham 2, Ipswich 2, that was a surprising result, wasn't it? Nobody predicted a draw even in that. Everyone backed Ipswich to win, so nobody gets a point there.
2-0 down, weren't they, with 10 minutes to go?
Yeah, that's right. Preston 3, Coventry 2. Iwan and Tony Cottee, the only two to pick up a point in that one. They both said that Preston would beat Coventry. Bristol City 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
All of us.
We all get 1 point for that. No one said 1-0, so we all get 1 point. If we get the score bang on, we get 3. If not, we get 1. Like Tony there. Tony on fire this evening.
Yeah.
He gets 1
Well
point.
done, Tony.
Well done, Tony. I think that might put him top of the league. There's one fixture left, though.
That's the one I was at.
Norwich 1, Blackburn 3.
Damn, what a shout that was.
And Norwich scored in about the 92nd minute as well, so it would have been all 3 points from me. So I get 1 point, Gerry gets 1 point, Tony also gets 1 point as well. Let's see how that ends the table. There you go, Tony Cottee. Look at that. Look at
Iwan
that.
Roberts, look at that.
Top of the league by 2 points, 2 points clear of the Matt and Gerry team and myself. Ewan propping up the bottom of the table, and he should have minus points for his 40 winks joke.
Do you know why I'm doing so badly this year?
No.
Because I always have to Dan, and we're doing predictions at like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And here you go.
Yeah,
and
so
you don't get time to think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Shocking, Dan.
Keep it going, Dan.
Keep doing it that way, yeah. Tony's
Keep it
delight. Tony loves to have 2 minutes to think about it and then bang, it's done. Right, let's do our Lardles. Our Jenga, rather than this evening. The theme is, ahead of Leicester's visit to Middlesbrough on Saturday, name anyone to have appeared in the matchday squads in Leicester's League Cup final victory over the Teessiders in 1997. This includes both teams and can be from either game, as there was a replay. I think I started last week, so we'll start with Tony this week, please.
Steve Claridge.
That way.
Yes.
Steve Walsh.
I will go for Nigel Pearson.
Neil Lennon.
Emil Heskey.
Muzzy, is it?
Slight risk early on here. The Leicester goalkeeper. I'm going to say Tim Flowers.
Bye-bye.
Confident shout by those two.
Yeah, it wasn't even at the club. Gary Parker.
What was that?
Right,
Text? Gary Parker, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the goalkeeper was Casey Keller.
Larry Grayson.
Pontus Kmart.
Oh, what a shout that is, Tags.
Yeah. I think I'm right with this one. Spencer Pryor.
Yeah. I couldn't think of his name.
Mike Whitlow.
Stevie Guppy.
No Gups. Was that no Guppy?
Yeah. No Steve Guppy.
I can't believe that.
I'm going to go Marshy.
Oh. Oh, so if you get this wrong, we're all back in.
Is that right?
Bang, bang, bang.
Go on then.
No, it's not actually, because it's Tony started, didn't he? Tony started.
I started, yeah.
Yeah, so it's them two.
Yeah.
Matt Robbins.
Well done, Ewan.
You win.
Well done, Ewan. You,
Actually
Did
got it
Elliot
wrong, let's all
play?
back
Matt
into
Elliot
it.
play?
No, it would have been you and Tony back in.
I'll read out the Leicester team for both of those then. So it was Keller in goal, Grayson, Whitlow, Walsh, Carmark, Pryor. Is it Lennon, Parker, Claridge, Heskey? So we named the starting 11, or you guys named the starting 11 for the first game. On the bench was Poole, Taylor and Robbins. And then in the other game, it was Keller, Grayson, Whitlow, Walsh, Pryor, Carmark, Is it Lennon, Parker, Claridge, Heskey. So the same 11, in fact, for the second game with Poole, Jamie Lawrence and Mark Robbins again on the bench.
Ravanelli for Borough.
Mark Schwarzer
Cox, Fleming, Pearson,
Janino.
Fester, Hignett, Musto, Janino, Emerson, Beck, and Ravanelli was a starting 11 for the first
I
game.
had all them written down.
Yeah, I did. I had Ravanelli, Janino, and I just thought, I'll just stick a cheeky one in.
So Gups must have arrived then that summer, presumably.
Yeah, he must have done, yeah.
Yeah. So, well done to you and
Not
Roberts.
like you to go out as early as you did.
No, I was disappointed with that.
It's not weren't your era, really, was it?
No, I think
I just left the club as well, so...
I think I was 2 years old when that final was.
Chuffing, all right, rub it in, why don't you?
I always remember that Nigel Pearson was the Middlesbrough captain in that one. But well done to you and Roberts. You may be bottom of the predictions table and have got terrible jokes, but you've won the football Jenga again this evening. We've got about 5 minutes now towards the end of the show. We've a question in from Sean on Facebook, Sean Guilford, just as we were talking about Harry Winks, Gerry, before, and obviously you're on the podcast with him.
Yeah.
It says, what would happen if Harry Winks gets injured? Who do you think comes in and does that role in the Leicester midfield?
Very good question. I think he's tried to fit one or two players in there. Well, mainly as a right back, but I don't think there's anybody else at the club at this moment in time who's fit. I think Sammy Braybrook potentially could come in and do that job, but he's a young and experienced lad. He's technically right up there, so that wouldn't faze him, but he's still not fit, is he? So that's a good question,
How long will Ndidi be out for, lads? Do we know?
Not sure.
No, he's not said. He's not given a time frame.
It's a really good question.
Right.
Hamza's come in there. He's played the Ricardo role.
And he's done well.
He's done well. But Harry Winks.
He's about the only one tags, isn't he? I would say.
Yeah, but even Hamza, even Ricardo can't quite do what Harry Winks does.
No,
they just can't. He's just tailor-made. He's
for that system.
For that system, he is like you couldn't have moulded a better player.
For that system, style of play, he's ideal.
For exactly what Enzo wants, what he wants Harry Winks to do. He is tailor-made for it, and that's the issue. You can fit people in, but and this is no disrespect to any other player. It's just that Harry Winks, it's just his style of football is just 100% nailed on. You're playing there, mate, and you're not. If you play the way you can, you've got that. Slot.
It reminds me a couple of years ago when Norwich won their second title under Daniel Farke. They signed Oliver Skipp, a very similar player to Winks. Both come up from the same club.
Yeah.
And you ask any Norwich, they had Buendia, they had Timu Pukki up front. Oliver Skipp was absolutely vital for them getting promotion, as Harry Winks is for Leicester.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a mini debate, Gerry, haven't we? You said that you think he's potentially going to be Leicester's player of the season this year. I mean, listen, he's absolutely on that. I said potentially Kiernan Dewsbury. It's very early though, obviously.
Yeah, I just think consistency for me. There's no one has been more consistent than Harry Winks.
Yeah.
This season, I've seen most of the games, 1 or 2, but his consistency levels are just off the charts. Obviously, Dewsbury is probably one of our, if not our most exciting player. There's no doubt about that. But I just think his consistency levels are bang, bang, bang. He never drops. And if he's having a rough time, he always looks for or tries to find a way to get himself on the ball.
Yeah, he's formed a good partnership as well, you and Tony, rather, with Ricardo, hasn't he, in that midfield? And I guess with Ndidi, with Cassidy or Dewsbury Hall, but interestingly with Ricardo, when he pushes into that position, 1 or 2 of those is always free.
Yeah, and they've really linked up well with each other, and it's been fascinating to watch Ricardo go into that position. We spoke about it so many times. You didn't imagine that was going to happen, but it has. He's done really well, and Harry Winks, it just keeps everything together. It just seems to. I always say as a footballer, do what you're good at, Dan. And Harry Winks knows what he's good at, and he does it really, really well. He's like 8 out of 10 every week, which is what Tags is on about in terms of being a player of the year. You know you get the quality and the performance week in, week out, consistency. And that's the one thing, as I've always said, that the players are striving for, teams are striving. Leicester have been really consistent this year. That's why they're top of the league. As an individual, you're striving as an individual to be consistent and put in those 8 out of 10s every week. And every now and again, you get a 9 out of 10 because you get the goal like you did at QPR. Yeah. You know, he's been sensational so far.
Absolutely. That's a really nice place to end extra time then this evening. Thank you to everybody who has watched us. Thank you to everyone who's got involved as well with the show. And thanks as ever to our guests. Tonight it was Tony Cottee, Gerry Taggart and Iwan Roberts. We'll be back again for Matchday Live, of course, on Saturday for that trip to Middlesbrough and the Riverside. Gerry will be there for us. It is a 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. That means we'll be live with Matchday Live from 2 p.m, of course. So do follow all the action as you always can do with us on Fox's Hub. But everybody, have a fantastic week and we'll see you all on Saturday.